If you want to participate, contact me at ordinarywomenpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at Ordinary Women Podcast, on Twitter at Ordinary Women PC, or on Facebook on the page Ordinary Women. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Ordinary Women. I'm welcoming Valarie today. Hi Valarie, how are you?
Oh, just living the dream.
I'm really excited to have you here today. Can you start by giving a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Yeah. So, I am a born female woman. I have had jobs ranging from, bar bouncer to bodyguard work to medical office management to DevOps engineer.
Wow.
Yeah, I've sort of done it all.
Super excited to hear everything about it. Is there anything unusual about yourself?
I think that my disabilities make me unique. I'm dyslexic, and there are some days where I absolutely cannot read.
Right.
And there are some days where I read like a champ. There are some days where... So it's really funny. Like, I'm that kid that was born to take standardized tests.
Really?
Yeah. On those days, my dyslexia did not really act up. It really wasn't an issue. I think it's because I knew that performance was expected. And so I actually once had a teacher say that I should not be welcomed into the gifted program because I clearly cheated on my test. And I responded, well, if I'm smart enough to figure out how to cheat on the test, I feel like I'm gifted.
Yeah. What did the answer?
So the answer was I was admitted into the gifted program.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Obviously on this podcast, we talk a lot about what it's like to be a woman. So I'd like to start by asking, was there an event or a moment in your life when you realized that you are a woman?
Yes. I was 13 and I liked comic books an awful lot. And my mother told me that comic books are for boys.
Oh.
And so I couldn't buy the books I wanted. But I ended up having the best role model ever. So when I was 13, I started doing judo. And I was super lucky because there was one woman named Elizabeth Berliner, and she showed up, and she was smart and cool and funny and like a badass fighter, but also had a PhD, know?
Yeah, I got you doll.
Yeah, she was that woman that I think everyone wants to be.
Yeah.
And so I was really fortunate that she showed up during my 14th year and was my role model.
Yeah. She sounds amazing. Did you meet her or did you hear about her?
Oh no, she fought at my dojo.
Oh wow. Oh my god, amazing.
Her husband lived at my dojo. And so I got to encounter her every day the whole year. I was like 14 and part of my 15th year. I was really blessed.
Oh, I can only imagine. That must be so amazing. Actually, my next question was gonna be about your female role models and people who inspired you as a child. So I guess she would definitely be in these people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth Berliner 100% inspired me with her PhD and being a badass judo player. My sister, Elizabeth, has definitely inspired me. Um, so she went through, normal schooling, but she went to college on a French horn scholarship.
Oh.
Yep. And ended up doing her master's degree, for French horn performance. And she was incredible. I'm also really blessed that, like, my Aunt Michelle, she showed me what it's like to go through life just accomplishing again and again and again. She was in the Jacksonville Symphony. She went through an accounting career and absolutely just owned it.
Mm.
So I'm really fortunate. Like, I've had a lot of incredible women in my life.
Yeah. Sounds like they're all, yeah, amazing. So what do you think they taught you?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from the women in my life has been to never give up. That, if opportunities aren't there, just make them. Just fabricate them. And so I guess it was 6 years ago now, I went through a coding boot camp. And halfway through that boot camp, I fell in love with the concept of DevOps.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, I'd like to be a DevOps engineer. That sounds great. There's no such thing as entry level DevOps. There, there's no such thing as a DevOps internship. And so I got creative and I asked a company here in Atlanta to make an internship for me. And they did.
I love that.
Yeah, it was incredible. So I was telling you earlier, 4 weeks in to
Mm.
my internship, HR pulled me into the office. And I just, assuming the worst because that's who I am as a person, I thought I was being fired. And when she told me, no, actually, we're extending your contract. We'd like to take you on permanent as a permanent DevOps employee. It,
I
it was
love that.
probably, yeah, it was probably one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing. Also, how long was the internship supposed to be for?
10 weeks. But
Wow, and so like less than half into the internship, they're already like, okay, we're keeping her.
yeah.
That's so cool.
So I feel like all people are born with gifts and talents.
Mm.
And my particular gift and talent is making people excited and causing people to feel things. So when I get on a stage and I speak about a technology product, I make people cry and laugh and think and really feel because I I feel like most people don't step back and realize that the internet and technology, it changes the world.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was recently watching an episode of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and he was talking about AI. And it caused me to get online and use Chat GPT for the first
Mm.
time. And I think people have taken for granted that technology and software is impacting them every single day. Because I got on there for the first time and I was asking it questions. It was giving me, incredible answers. And all I could think is, wow,
Yeah.
wow, this is awesome technology.
Yeah, this is so, yeah, awesome and fascinating what it is able to do.
yeah. And for someone who's dyslexic to be able to ask this piece of tech, a question and it spits out a reasonably good answer. Like, I might have to go back and fact check it. I might have to, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. But for someone with a disability, it's
Yeah.
awesome to have this tool to ask.
Yeah, it must be. I hadn't, for some reason, I hadn't thought about that. But that's so nice. Can it, I don't remember, I haven't used it a lot, but does it also have the option to speak, like to read to you, whatever it just wrote?
Yeah. So there are overlays that go over ChatGPT that will read the answers out to you.
Right. Oh, that's amazing.
And most of them are pretty good. I mean, some of them give you mediocre responses,
Yeah.
but it's still more information than you would have had.
Yeah, it's so interesting, such an interesting software. Is it a software? AI thing. I don't have the vocabulary, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's a cool piece of tech.
Yeah.
It absolutely helps you to gather information quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so sorry, but I lost track of what we were. How did we end up talking about ChatGPT? We were talking about you getting.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, probably because, I deal with dyslexia. I deal with complex PTSD. And I ended up with a great career in tech the last 5 years after 5 years as a stay-at-home mom.
That must be amazing. Is that? Shall we jump to? Was that what you wanted to talk about in the like?
Yeah, it's probably my best achievement.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying that you were stay-at-home mom for 5 years.
Yeah, that was probably the longest 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
Um, like I I slept a lot during the days, but then when I knew the kids were coming home, I would get up and be really excited for them. And I know moms aren't supposed to say this, but I was a really good mom for those
Oh,
hours.
no, I think you can say that. Take credit for it. That's awesome. I love hearing you saying that.
So the last 6 years, I've been in tech and I've tried to maintain, being a good mom, but also being good at what I do. And
Mm.
I feel like, my gift, the thing that I give to the world is when I get on a stage at a conference, I make people really, really excited about whatever I'm talking about. I'm a shit blogger. I'm absolutely crap at writing things every week, but when I get on stage, oh, it's where I was born to be.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's what I was meant to do.
Yeah. And so how did you come to do it? What happened?
So I was trying to find my first job in
Mm.
tech right out of the boot camp, and I ended up speaking at Women Who Code Atlanta. They had an International Women's Day event, and I gave a whole talk on how former stay-at-home parents make the best employees. And what's really cool is 5 years later, I spoke there a few weeks ago and was able to talk about, yeah, I've had a really successful life in tech, but I've had that successful life because I spoke at this event
Mm.
6 years ago. So that night, the women of Airbus were there and they heard me speak. And what's so funny is during my talk a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I was pretty sure the women of Airbus said things like, we don't know if this chick can do anything useful, but you should probably hire her. One of the women from Airbus who was at the conference a few weeks ago came up to me and said, "No, actually, what I said to our CEO and our CTO was, you had better effing hire her."
Oh, yeah, that's so
Yeah, no,
cool.
she put herself out there, and she's probably 100% why I got the job.
Oh, I love that. And some people are like, it was probably her own skill, right? See, see
She was
people.
badass, just badass back end software engineer. Like, she was born to write back end code. She was so good. Yeah.
I love that. And so yeah, so you participated in this, and that kind of opened the door to tech, or opened back the door to tech, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It put me in a situation where, first I had the internship, then I
Hmm.
had the permanent role, and I did DevOps for almost 5 years. And then about a year ago, I realized that speaking on stage and getting people really excited about tech was kind of my driving force. And so I took my first role as a developer advocate.
That's amazing. Wait, so what's a developer advocate?
So, a developer advocate is someone who makes it easier for developers to use technology. Like whatever company is, providing a product, developer advocates are supposed to make it easier for developers to use their stuff.
Oh, that's so interesting. But that's super, super cool.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like it was awesome helping developers to use our product more efficiently.
Yeah. Nice. So I guess you had to like talk all the time to everyone.
Yeah. So the company that I was at the time, they could afford X amount of conferences per year. And so it was really exciting to go to conferences and get on stage and be like, hey, here's this new piece of tech. Let me get you really excited about it. And one of my favorite memories was actually just maybe a month ago. I finished speaking at a conference, and my first slide is always about my life. It's always about, my husband and my kids and where I come from. And she walked up with a really flat belly and said, hey, I just found out I was pregnant, and I sort of thought my career in tech was over, but you've just inspired me
Oh,
that
I love
women, right? That
yeah.
women who are moms can still be in tech. And it was probably one of the most moving moments of my life. Like, I don't know who she is, but that woman changed me forever.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And was there anyone important that had an impact on you, doing it, continuing it, like anyone who, I don't know, helped you, mentor you, inspired you? I mean, I guess we talked a bit already about the workshop, but yeah, anyone, I don't know, anyone else?
Yeah. So one woman, Terry Chu, she was the badass back end engineer that I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. Um, she went through a pregnancy and a parental leave, and she really demonstrated to me that it's okay to be a parent. She came back from that pregnancy and just absolutely owned the back end code at that company. She was
Oh,
incredible.
I love that.
Yeah, no, Terry's one of my favorite role models. Um, and again, I've been so fortunate. I've had so many. Like Kayla Harrison is a judo player who went through sexual molestation, like I did
Ooh,
as a kid,
I'm so
and
sorry.
she came. Yeah, she came back from that, and ended up being America's first gold medal in the Olympics
Oh
for
my
judo
God.
ever. Yeah. Um, she definitely taught me that, what we go through in our childhood doesn't have to determine who we are.
Yeah.
And I had people like my sister and Elizabeth Berliner. She taught me that having 4 kids doesn't mean that you can't get your PhD and be a
Yeah.
badass. You know,
Yeah.
I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of incredible women in my life who have definitely taught me that, the odds are against us.
Yeah.
The circumstances are hard for us, but we can accomplish. We can look these circumstances in the eye and say, you know what? I'm going to overcome that.
I love that. And I love that you then go on and inspire other people. That's amazing. And it's like a full cycle. And these people maybe will go and inspire other people. That's amazing.
Yeah, some of my favorite LinkedIn messages I've ever gotten have been from women who basically said, I'm a mom, and I didn't think moms were allowed to accomplish,
Mm.
but you've shown me that moms absolutely can.
Yeah. Yeah. This also the question of the permission is really interesting. Like these people who say I didn't think I was allowed. Yeah. And so great that you've sort of made them understood and that yes they are allowed. That's amazing. Because we talked earlier, well, you talked earlier about like being a mom and also like going back to work. How has that been for you?
I'm not gonna lie. There are some days where I wish I could just be a stay-at-home mom
Mm.
and I could just clean my house and,
Yeah.
do the things I used to do. I now spend probably $600 a month
Wow,
on
yeah.
outsourcing. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
outsourcing the things that I did as a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom. I don't think people realize the value
Mm-mm.
in a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Like that's a full-time house cleaner, cook, chauffeur.
Yeah.
Like
It's really
that,
unpaid work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so there are some days where I really miss it, and I really wish that I could just wake up in the morning and my only task was to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
But then I think about tech and I think about software and I think about where it's going, and I'm so excited over where it's going. Like, AI has been in the works for 20 plus years, and it's just now broken through to being
Yeah.
really mainstream. And I
Yeah.
am so excited for it. Like, I can't wait to get on stage the next time that I have a good employer who puts me on stage and I get to get people really excited about tech.
Yeah. I can't wait for you. Yeah, it must be an amazing feeling to just also witness, I guess, like the reaction of people while you're talking to them and explaining.
Oh my God. Like the feels that I have when people cry when I'm on stage and I'm talking about a certain piece of technology. I'm talking about life in the technical world. The way I feel when people cry is just incredible.
Yeah, I must be so great. And yeah, so great to know you're part of it. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it really is. It really is. I think that a lot of people don't realize that there's a business case
Mm.
for for things like taking care of your employees. There's a business case for parental leave. It's
Yeah.
not just about like a mommy being at home with her kid. It's about the fact that she's less likely to be sick for the next 5 years
Mm.
if she gets some leave. And so I try to share these things with the tech community.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing to do that. And what challenges have you faced then in, I guess, coming back to work and then maybe in the, like, between discovering what you wanted to do and actually doing it?
So I think the biggest challenges I have faced have been, going up against my disability. There are a lot of companies that pretend that they accept anyone, but when you tell them you're dyslexic and you have CPTSD, they don't really want you. And that's really hard.
Yeah, and it's so abnormal. And yeah, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Yeah, I hope one day it won't be anymore.
So I was recently let go from the company because they didn't love me being dyslexic.
Oh my
And it
God, I'm
was
so sorry.
yeah, it was really hard to
Yeah.
go through. But I know that when I find the right company, that like the right place who wants what I have to give, and what I have to give is speaking on stage. What I have to give is making people feel and think and cry about tech. I know when I find the right place, I'll find the right company who really, really values that.
Yeah, and it's so well, a abnormal and infuriating that they did that, and also, I mean, I'm sure that it's illegal for a reason. Like, it really shouldn't be. And again, so sorry that you had to go through that. At least now you know that you're not working for an employer who's like doesn't value people, which I guess eventually is for the best, even though not in the correct way. But yeah, it's also then I wonder how these people evaluate in the world, like thinking that their way is the correct way, as if there was one. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we all have different things to bring, and it's such a shame that they didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me sad
Yeah,
for them
yeah.
that they didn't value my speaking at
Mm.
events. Because when I do, oh my God, like the reaction from people in tech who were like, oh my God, I didn't know a tech talk could make me feel this way.
I love that. That's really a superpower. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And was there anything that was easier than you thought would have been in going back to work, in speaking and starting to speak to these events?
Yeah, I thought my kids would struggle
Mm.
more than they do. I thought that it would be awful for them. But what I've learned in the last 6 years is that my kids just sort of accept that I'm going to speak and I'm gonna be gone every now and then. And you know, my big kids, especially Skylar and Anya, they've definitely learned that it's okay that mommy goes somewhere every now and then.
Yeah. And I'm sure when they grow up and they see it, they'll be very inspired too.
Yeah, I think both of my big kids are girls, and I I definitely think that both of them are destined for roles in tech,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope they're inspired by me.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. Um, and what makes you proud of yourself and of this?
So I feel guilty saying this, but what really makes me proud of myself is like my physical strength and like the obstacles I've been able to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah, no shame in that. On the contrary, that's amazing that you've done it.
But I feel like we're not supposed to say that. Like, I feel like as women, we're not supposed to be proud of being physically strong.
Yeah.
But I am.
Yeah. I think that's kind of changing, or maybe it's just because I started going to the gym and now I only see gym people everywhere. But yeah, there is definitely something about being strong or not. And that's true that as women we're definitely not encouraged in being strong or fighting, taking up space and all of this. But I think that's really inspiring also that you say that and that you recognize that in yourself. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a part of me that like I mentioned earlier, Elizabeth Berliner put there, and she made me want to be like her and want to be this proud, successful woman who fights through, all adversity. I'm really thankful for the women who came before me who, changed the landscape and made it okay for me to accomplish.
Definitely. And I'm sure you'll in turn inspire a lot of other people. That's amazing. I think we're going to conclude our discussion on this. Thank you so much. Before we finish, is there anything that we didn't talk about during our conversation that you wanted to mention?
I just hope that any mommies out there know that if you want to get back into work, if you want to accomplish what you're doing right now as a stay-at-home mom is incredible. But if you want to have a job, you are absolutely capable of doing so.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And thanks again for joining and for sharing part of your story with me and everyone who's listening. That was such an interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And in this podcast, the guest always gets the very last word, so the mic is yours.
I would just say to any mommies out there that are
if you want to
considering
participate,
going back to work,
contact me at
ordinarywomenpodcast all you do is be a mom.
I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at ordinarywomenpodcast, on Twitter
you want,
at ordinarywomenpc,
or
on
your
Facebook
passion is
on the page
do
Ordinary
that.
Women.